Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. We'll give a few seconds for the live stream to kick in and see if everybody's joining us today to talk about being scared and how to go on stage with confidence. So, welcome to the Art of Inspired Selling live stream. My name's Kathryn Evans. I'm the host of the show where I bring 6- and 7-figure business owners online live to you so that you as a solopreneur or a small business owner can learn any tips or tricks to help you not just survive in the face of our new normal, but to actually thrive. So one of the things that I know that's super important, which personally I'm not going to say mastered, but I'm getting better every live stream, is public speaking, right? How to not be afraid, how to speak with confidence, how to project with confidence. So what I did was I decided to bring on a guest who is a professional speaking coach who helps empower people to do their best performance on stage. So I'm going to read a bio about our next guest, who's George Hendley. George founded George Hendley Presentations, a training, coaching, consulting firm in 1992. He's also the founder of the Speakers Academy in 2011 that has been his primary focus for 9 years. At the Speakers Academy, he works with business leaders who want to speak with confidence. During the past 28 years, George wrote over 150 articles on a variety of timely and relevant topics. Those topics include presentation skills, listening, leadership, attitude, and understanding body language. He also co-authored Meditations for the Road Warrior. George, when I get there, we're going to have to talk about that. Meditations for the Road Warrior with 10 other professional speakers. He posts frequent tips and insights on his Speaker Academy Facebook and LinkedIn page that are clear, brief, and practical. His greatest loves are his Lord, his wife, his 2 daughters, and his grandson. So without further ado, I am happy to bring on our next guest, George. And we
Wow. What an introduction. You read that just like I wrote it. Good job.
Happy Friday and welcome to the Art of Inspired Selling live stream. So we already have guests, and we have people that are saying speaking in public freaks me out so much, right? He is a random guy, but some people do have a problem, and I'm so happy that you're going to deliver some wisdom today to help my guests and my future guests, my audience, and your audience learn how to speak with confidence. So as always, I'd always like to ask my guests, where are you coming from today? Where are you physically seated?
I am physically seated in the headquarters of the Speakers Academy, which happens to be right outside of the metropolis of Forney, Texas.
Well, I don't even know where that is.
Well, actually, that's 20 miles due east of the Big D, as in Dallas.
Okay.
You remember Dallas? Oh, yeah. We're still there.
Yes. Well, I've worked in Texas for many years in my previous position. So I've been all over I've even been to East Texas, hanging out in East Texas with the big bugs and all. Yeah, super fun. So George, tell me, as part of a guest or what I want to try to uncover and give to the audience is, you've been in business for yourself for all of these years, right? How many years total is that? I can't do the math. I can read, but I'm not going to tell you I could do the math.
Literally, this month is exactly 28 years. 28
Congratulations.
Years. Thank you.
That gets a clap. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, 28 years on your own, motivating other people. What are some of your favorite either inspirational quotes? Do you have an inspirational person? What's your why? Like, what inspires you to continue selling your services and to get up every day and win? Tell me about that.
Good deal. Well, Kathryn, number one, I must say thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
You're welcome.
I love to get in front of people who are like you and like me, who are out there in the trenches working and striving and toiling and doing the things that make a difference in other people's lives. And that's really my goal today, is that I can make a difference. It may be small, it may be medium, it may be large, but I want to make a difference in other people's lives, because
Yes.
I have been so blessed for all of these years to have incredible mentors and coaches and teachers who have made a big difference in my life, who have planted seeds in me and allowed me then to grow up into who I am today. So I give them homage and appreciation for what they've done to help me to get me to where I am today. Now, back to your questions. I am a man of faith, and I don't make any bones about that, because I believe that's a critical part of who I am and what I'm all about. And being a man of faith, then I've really spent some time thinking about the Bible and my purpose, as in The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. And I have over here on my vision board, you can't see it, but I have those two verses out of 2 Timothy chapter 2 that really comprise who I am as a faith-based man. And it's all about teaching other men who will then teach others. And whether or not I'm teaching biblical principles or principles for success in business and life, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a mentor. I want to be someone who is imparting wisdom into people who are ready to receive it and do something with it.
Yes. And that's wonderful. I mean, that's the same thing. I won't say that I'm in the biblical sense, but that is what I'm all about, right? Is I'm just giving, and I lead with giving. I just know that it's going to come back tenfold, because it's part of who I am. It's ingrained in me to always give before I as a matter of fact, that probably is what I could work on, is I may not be a good receiver, but I am a good giver. So you said you like to work with men. Do you lead a men's Bible study group, or have you mentored men? Because I mentor women, and I often look for a good male mentor that's values-based and families-based and perhaps spiritual-based. So do you seek out men, or has that just kind of your gender neutral on who you work with?
Well, I do work with women as well. But
Okay.
For me, it's shall we say, a safer environment for me to work with men. Only because of where things are at in the world, with the potential of people pointing a finger, making a blame, or making assumptions. So I do work with women. I've coached a number. As a matter of fact, I probably coach more women in speaking skills and development than I have men. And they tend to be, honestly, they tend to be more receptive, more humble, more ready to learn, more eager to learn. So that is a really wonderful part of my business, and I do that just on the phone earlier today with one of my lady clients. But back to the specific focus. I had a wonderful conversation earlier this week. I guess it was on Monday. And in the conversation, it was with a young man who had reached out to me via LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I'd like to spend some time with you." And I said, "Sure." So we got on a Zoom call, and we spent some time together, and he asked me a lot of questions, and he was very good. He had a sales background for like 20 years. He was very good in asking the questions. And finally I said to him, "Brandon, it's my turn." And he said, "Okay." And so I had a chance to start asking him a few questions. Along the way, pretty early into my questioning of Brandon, I said, "Brandon, do you have someone who is a mentor for you?" And he froze. He just said, "I was looking at my devotional this morning, and it said that it would be a wise thing for me to do to find a mentor."
Wow.
And you could just see his face.
Goosebumps. Yes.
That's what he said. He said he got literally chills at that moment in time. And I kind of laughed and said, "I think this is a good conversation." So Kathryn, on this coming Monday, Brandon and I are coming together 25 miles to a central meeting place, having lunch, and I really expect that to be a special, blessed conversation.
Now let's talk for a second, because I just had this conversation with my prior guest, Debbie Allen, where we had a little bit of a difference in definitions of consultant, coach, and mentor.
Mm.
And so my definition, my personal definition, is that mentors tend to be more, I don't want to say spiritual leaders, but mentors tend to be, they could come in all different shapes and forms. But if I was
Mhm.
thinking of a mentor, I would think of either a woman or a man a little bit older than me, or at least in my generation,
Mhm.
that weren't necessarily charging me. They felt a connection to me and they wanted to see me successful. And you might even say maybe took me under their wing or something,
Mhm.
and they received some sort of satisfaction out of mentoring me as well. A coach or a consultant, I'm going to seek myself probably and pay them for their services. So
Mhm.
what's your definition of a mentor, coach, consultant?
I'm glad you asked. If you know the history of that word mentor, mentor was a guy. He was a man that was put in charge of the education and oversight of the king's son when the king went away to war.
Okay.
And in those days, wars many times they lasted for years. And
Yes.
so mentor had the job of overseeing the development, the entire education of the king's son, who would be following in the steps of the king himself. And that's the basis for who he was and what he did. I have always thought in terms of a mentor, very similar to what you talk about, and I have again mentored women as well as men,
Mm-hmm.
as being someone who is an overarching, bigger picture person who's typically older, maybe 8, 10, 12, maybe as much as 20 years older than the person they are mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a bigger picture perspective of what life is about and what will help this person develop, not according to how they see it, but what that person needs to become the best of who they are.
Yeah.
And so that's really the way I look at it. Kathryn, I have been so incredibly blessed to have a couple of mentors, but specifically one. I just had lunch with him last week. He's 11 years older than me. He's retired. I asked him to become my mentor about 21, 22 years ago. We've known each other now for 25 years. We have lunch regularly, and he is the best listener and questioner I've ever seen. He's unbelievable. And the most amazing thing is he's hard of hearing. He has
Ah,
hearing aids in both ears, but he knows how to listen.
well,
He
that is a sense that he's probably developed out of a necessity to listen, right? Where you have one disability, another one arises. I
yes.
don't know if that's what.
Well, and he cut his teeth and became very successful in the insurance and financial services arena. He's
Ah,
literally turned his business over to his two sons. His older son is my financial advisor. So it's like I'm part of their family, and they really almost see
oops.
me as an extension. So amazing and kind and generous. So what can I say? I've been
All right,
mentored by the best. I've been
that's
mentored by the
great.
best.
That's wonderful. And maybe I need to have a whole nother show, a talk show. Now we went from Facebook Live to live streaming. Now I'm gonna have a talk show where we talk
Okay.
about mentors. In one, and I'll just stay on this topic one more second, because anybody that's watching is like, when are you going to get to the speaking part?
Okay.
But while I really stand for women's rights, I stand for lifting other women up, mentoring other women. I start to see now. I'm a single mother of two young men. One's 13, one's 20. They haven't had male mentors. They've had mom. Mom has had to put on both mom and dad hats.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I make a joke to some of my friends and their husbands. I'm like, wouldn't you like to just come over and take my son and go fish, or just to have that male masculine energy? And I think that there's such a movement, and women matter, Black Lives Matter, whatever, that there are some male specimens out there that are missing the the connection to build that solid foundation for both families and whatever else to keep them on the straight path. Totally another subject for another show. We can talk about it. But yes, I see the need for that in my own personal life. All right. So let's get
and before you get off of that, let me just say this. I went through a difficult but life-turning event when I was divorced 20 years ago, and I became the guardian, so to speak. I became a single dad for my teenage daughter. And, I have dearly, but the second one was especially close to me because to go through some rough times together in her final couple of years of high school. But we made it through. She's an amazing, amazing young woman. She's now a PhD professor of sociology at Murray State University, and we have a very tight relationship.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And congrats for raising a successful daughter. It's not hard. It's not easy these days.
It isn't.
All right, so let's get on the subject of speaking.
Good.
What
like
brought
what we're
you?
doing right now. We're doing that right now. And by the way, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. What brought you into the world of speaking?
Okay. When I was a small child, I had a stutter and a very, very difficult time pronouncing certain words.
Okay.
So in the early days of my life, it was my mother's love and patience that helped me grow through that speech disability. She and I had a standing joke for many years about Columbus's Day, but I won't go there. But bottom line, she was the one that helped me overcome that early hurdle, that challenge. Mm-hmm. And then I had a great speech teacher in high school, Mrs. Clemens, and she again gave me the confidence to continue developing myself. And then as I got through college and got into the adult world, I was going to become a teacher and coach. Didn't go that route, but bottom line, around 1990, as I was going through a major life transition, my older sister, who was already in the professional speaking world, she said, you really ought to think about becoming a trainer and speaker like me. And it took me, that was a good way for me to go. And so in 1992, 28 years ago this month, I hung out my shingle and I went into the professional training arena and did corporate courses from one coast to the other. And the ongoing recognition very simply was this. There was always a need to help people develop confidence and skill as a speaker, always. When everything was said and done, there was always a need for that. So when things went quaky and quacky back in 08, 09, and 10, better direction for me to go. And thus I started the Speakers Academy in
Okay. So you did send me a nice framework of different questions of common questions that people ask about speaking and what it's like for that. But when you're going to, so remember the audience that I primarily cater to would be B2B solopreneurs and B2B small businesses. So a lot of the people that I've worked with, or even one of my first clients was going to leave corporate America, write a book and speak. He was already speaking on stages. So my audience are exactly the kind of people that you work with. They have speaking coaches. But what's the first thing that you start to teach somebody when they do you see primarily people that are going to pursue a degree it could be a life degree in speaking on stage, or did somehow they were asked to speak and they were freaking the heck out and they said, I got to figure out what to do? Like what kind of category do people come to you? What problem is it that they're asking you to solve for them?
The majority of the time, it is a, quote, small business owner who recognizes he or she could be better helped in marketing themselves and in selling their service and or product by way of getting in front of audiences and doing the proverbial rubber chicken circuit. In other words, getting in front of all the Rotaries and the Lions clubs and the ABWA clubs and all of those different clubs and organizations that need a weekly or monthly speaker, and they are looking for someone who is good enough to stand and do a decent job for them. And these are the people then that I train to get in front of those audiences and build business. And I can go into a long story about how I've built over $500,000 worth of business, easily trackable, by way of giving free speeches.
And that was one of your questions. And so I do have a mentor or someone that I look to for confidence. And, one of the things she frowns in is some people say, don't speak for free. Don't speak for free. But I speak for free.
Good for you. Hey, the guy who founded the National Speakers Association, sitting right here to my left in a luncheon back in 1996, he turned to me and said, George, get in front of every audience you can. It doesn't matter whether it's free or paid. Speak and speak and speak and practice and practice and practice, and you'll get better, and your audiences will want to have you back, and you will build your business. So from that perspective, as well as Zig Ziglar said pretty much exactly the same thing. So Cabot Robert, Zig Ziglar, I think that's probably pretty good wisdom right there.
Some people to pay attention to, right? Now, if you're looking for a revenue source, I guess in speaking, it's a whole different thing. But my speaking, once again, would just be to deliver the wisdom that I've gathered through my 30 years of field sales experience, business development, or a subject matter expert on something that I might take for granted, that when I start speaking, people's eyes glaze over and they're like, you should really give a class on that, right? So sometimes you don't realize the expertise that you carry or that you've gathered through your years of doing something. So delivering that type of information to a welcome, hungry audience, I think is just fabulous, right? So
it really is. It really is. Now today, I will say this. Today we have more information accessible than we've ever imagined.
Yes.
And like I probably have seen, there are literally hundreds of TED Talks on pretty much every imaginable subject that you can think of, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So there is a massive amount out there, but people still love an engaging, intelligent expert in a specific arena, especially if it relates to how they can help themselves, how they can ratchet up their business growth, and to do it in front of them. There's fun when you know what you're doing.
So let's go. Let me go a little bit to the questions that you had sent me, because some of them are really great. One of the questions you said is, how important is storytelling and being able to deliver a great presentation? And the reason that one's resonating with me is that I've been told in the past that I'm a great storyteller. Like, people stop talking, and they look, and it's only storytelling about things I've done, right? Maybe I'm embellishing a little bit. I'm not sure, but I want to be a better storyteller about my business and about delivering value to people. So give me some examples. What are some of the formats or the blueprints that you use when you talk to people about storytelling?
Yes. Well, if you've ever heard Steve Jobs do some of his kinds of presentations, he was a masterful storyteller.
Okay.
And he always typically couched his great product delivery into some format of a story, one or another. Mm-hmm. But if you think back to the greatest speakers of all time, they were all storytellers. Think about, as an example, every great movie, the biggest movies of all time, what are they? They're stories.
Yeah, they're stories. Yes.
They're stories. The books that tend to resonate with people, in every culture, they're all about stories. And one of the kind of ongoing themes in stories is stories, especially if they're well told and the hero or heroine comes out on top, which they typically do, mm-hmm. It brings hope. And yes. Hope is a major foundational piece of a great story. And
Yes.
today, today, people need hope.
They're starving.
They're
They're
starving for
starving.
hope. That's true.
Yes.
And so if you can tell a great story that will help somebody go, if he did it, if she did it, maybe I can do it too.
Yes. And that I think myself, let's just put it in the first person. Sometimes I'm afraid to share a triumph or a tribulation. I just, you kind of feel concerned or you don't want to share it. But when I do share an inspiring story, like 2008-9 were shitty years for me, right? They were just bad years. And so I lived in I lived in Arizona during that time. I lost 2 businesses and 3 homes, I think, during that time. But so I started running. I was like Forrest Gump, and I started running, and I lived in Arizona. And so it's 109 degrees until the sun sets, and then maybe it's 99, but more than likely it's 101. So I got a headlamp and I started running late at night, and I started training for marathons. And I ran and I ran and I ran. And the farther I ran, the smaller my problems became, right? It was like I was able to deal with it. And so I entered into this something called an Xterra 21K dirt beach run. And I ran it with just to be there and to run. Well, I ended up winning and being on the podium and receiving a medal. And so that story, there's my story, right? So the story was a shitty time, a goal of running, a byproduct of dealing with stress and anxiety and overwhelm. And I ended up on the platform, and it was inspirational. And I was like, that's me. That was me up there. And it was such a great accomplishment I felt for me to have won. So that's an example, right, of a story, a personal story that you can tell. If I can do it, you can do it, right?
And you just did it. Did it. And with a little bit of polish and a little bit of learning how to frame that and a little bit more of learning how to draw the audience into your story, people will be here. They'll be here. That's called the palm of your hand. They'll be here, and you will be able to impart you unto them, and they will be eating out of your hand, and they will be craving you to keep talking because, again, that's called giving people hope.
Yes.
Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. As a matter of fact, our whole life is chapter after chapter after chapter of stories.
Absolutely. Stories and seasons. Stories and seasons. Yep.
Exactly. And it's those who can really recognize those instrumental stories in their life and turn them into, platforms or turning points that they're able to really say, I'm not at the top of the mountain, but closer day by day by day. I'm getting closer. I see the mountaintop, not far off. I see it. And people just go, that's what I need. I need that.
So I'm assuming, as assuming does, that when you work with your clients, you teach them the art of storytelling.
Yes.
What the max is, how, from what I've studied as well, you make your audience the hero. It's not about my journey. It's more about what they can do to come along on that journey with you. And they go on the podium with you at the end of the story, right? So then they're like, I could be there. I know I could be there. They see it. Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And they just light up. They just light up the internal transformation that's going on. And wow, what a beautiful, humbling thing that is to be able to help someone turn on that internal light and well up with pride and well up with a focus and energy to say, I'm going to be at the top of the mountain with you.
Yes. And we're going to get to our next tip here, but I think that's what drives me. If you were going to ask me for my story, when you can see the light bulb in somebody's eye, when you can just see the click, you're teaching them, and it goes from mentor to mentee or trainer to coach, and they own it, and the body language changes and the focus changes, and it hits me in the heart. It's like, I can do this all day long, right? You can just transfer that knowledge and empower people. It's good. It's good. Okay, so let's go for another question. What kinds of tips or tricks can you share that will help our listeners when they're preparing for a presentation? And now more than ever, a Zoom conversation tends to be a presentation. People are learning how to share their screens. And what are some tips and tricks for that? Maybe you have some specific things for Zoom that are transferable, or some things for in-person that are transferable over into our new normal, which is video presentations.
You're right. The thing that I try to do, Kathryn, very simply is this. I try to lay what I call groundwork principles. And it really doesn't matter whether you're face-to-face or you're Zoom to Zoom, so that the principles are always the same. And you can be video, virtual environment, or you can be face-to-face. But if you understand the principles, they will always support you and add to who you are and what you do. So here's a very simple 3-step methodology, a 3-step checklist, if you will, on how to do a great job in preparing. It's called the SAY, S-A-Y methodology. The S-A-Y.
I'm taking notes, guys. I'm taking notes. I expect you to be taking notes too. Okay.
The hand's moving right there. So and I give it to you in this order because it's easier to remember. So, I can say you must know the subject. And you've heard that term, subject matter expert, a SME, a subject matter expert, somebody who really deeply knows their subject. Now, along with knowing it, I think you need to also have some passion that will then help you energize that subject, not just know a lot, but be passionate about it. But the first thing is know your subject. The second thing is to know your audience. I was so happy that you told me some more specifics in our conversation yesterday about your audience, because in knowing your audience, you're able to better relate to him, her, or them.
Yes.
And an audience is 1 or 3 or 13 or 300 or 3,000. It doesn't matter size. Size is irrelevant. It's all about what you're doing with him, her, or them. Deliver a service that will help your audience. So, subject, S, A, audience. Know your subject, know your audience, and then finally, the why. The why. What is the why? The why is you. Know you. Know you. And this whole movement that began about 16, 17, maybe 18 years ago, it's called the Strength Finders platform or profile. People, they love typically to learn about themselves.
Hold on.
You got it right
just in case they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's right here.
There you go. Clifton Strength Finders. I've got 3 different Strength Finders books back on my shelf behind me. And I've done the Strength Finders profile twice. And I've done a massive amount of work in self-understanding, because emotional intelligence, the first, which is all about the found leadership, is self-awareness. Self-awareness. When I coach speakers, I don't want them to be like me. I don't want them to be like Zig Ziglar or Cabot Robert. I want them to be the best them that they can be, to understand where their strength really lies, and to tap into that reservoir of strength that they've been developing for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. They have it. Let's bring that to the surface so they can be the best them that they can be, and then deliver that to their audience by way of their subject matter.
Yep. And audience, do you see the pattern? Because I've brought on quite a few personal branding experts, because I too believe it's so important to know yourself, to grow yourself, which is my saying, right? And to really know what you stand for and to know what you stand against and to just be in your own essence, right? To exist, to not be the runaway bride who doesn't know what eggs she likes or she formats her habits dependent on her surroundings. Be your own rock, be the center of your own universe, write your own stories, be the leading actor in your own movie, whatever cliche it is, just do it, right? Just do it, be it, understand it. And as successful speakers, it must show through, right?
Exactly the case. So I would have been very inauthentic if I had not brought to the forefront that I'm a man of faith. Zig Ziglar, you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Well, basically, in a manner of speaking, that's paraphrasing the golden rule. But bottom line, Zig didn't quote chapter and verse, but he lived the principles of the Bible, which he knew and loved. And in his life, he manifested those traits, characters, and principles that would endear him to the audience. And the audience, they loved the guy. And the same thing for my other teacher, mentor from afar, Charlie Tremendous Jones. I'm looking at a picture of Charlie and I right there on my vision board. Those men were extremely authentic and transparent. They didn't ever try to be something or someone that they weren't. It would have been false. It would have been people who have seen through it in a nanosecond. And today, people need and want transparency.
Oops, your video is frozen. Let's hope you come back to the stage here. Okay, awkward silent moment while we're waiting for George's, I lost him altogether. Let me see. Hopefully he'll come back soon. So I had the opportunity to see Zig Ziglar quite a few times. And when I was a young woman in field sales, I used to listen to his videotapes. And so I knew about his religion. I didn't have to buy into it, but I knew what he stood for, which were his values that he carried forward in his business and in his career. I think we all knew who he was. So hopefully George is going to come back on. But some of the other questions that he sent to me were about preparing. I know preparation is important to overcome nerves. And so I just am wondering, maybe we can see if there's anybody that's going to ask any questions here. Does anybody do anything special to prepare for speaking on stages? I have spoken quite a few times in different areas. One of the things that I do in preparation to be on stage, I like Amy Cuddy, however you want to say her name, her talk that she does on presence, right? Where you understand, here it comes back, where you understand your power pose. I was improvising, I want you to know.
That was not on purpose, but hey, that was all right. That was a real classic moment, because when you're in front of an audience, you never ever know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know. So you have to be prepared and fluid for whatever comes your way. A real quick aside, one of my dear friends from the National Speakers Association, she told the story about how she lost an audience member about half to 2/3 of the way through her presentation.
Did they fall asleep?
No, lost, as in
died.
As in died.
Oh my goodness!
As in died, and she had to stop the presentation. That's almost like the nightmare of all nightmares. But she got through it. She made through it, and the audience, of course, thought she did amazing because she managed that very difficult situation. So this was a minor blip.
I gotcha. I gotcha, George. So what I was saying while you took a break was the next question that I was going to talk is how important it is for preparation. And I was just saying that some of the things that I do to prepare just before I go on stage is that I'm a big subscriber to Amy Cuddy. Is it Cuddy? Amy, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to look up how you're saying. But
the body language expert.
But I strike a
the
pose.
energy, yeah.
Yes. And so I usually go find a bathroom that's close by, and or maybe I just step outside and I do a pose. And so my pose, is open, right? I want to be open, and I force a smile on my face as hard as I can do. I just force it, and I time it, and I'm in a bathroom. I'm like, someday somebody's going to come look inside here because I'm probably in the bathroom looking at how long to stand. So what are some of the other things that you suggest for preparation to speak?
Okay. So again, I was going to a big public presentation, and Zig was the speaker. And it was being hosted at the Meyerson Theater, which is a big auditorium, gorgeous facility in downtown Dallas. When I say big, it actually doesn't seat but about 1,300 people, but still big. And I get there, kind of early, and guess who's on the steps leading into the theater itself? It was Zig. Zig was standing there, meeting and greeting people face to face, one after another. And I'm like, holy cow, I've never shook the guy's hand. I've read his books. I'm a fan. I got in line and I got a chance to meet him and shake his hand and just spend 30 seconds with him. So one of the things I tell people is get close to your audience. Get close to your audience. Shake their hand, see their face, ask their name, have some audience warm-up time so that you feel like you're speaking to your friends and they feel so much more in touch and in tune with you. So that's one of the things I share. I do. And I know it makes a big difference for people that really put that to work. Another thing is, in a quiet moment, before I'm introduced, sometimes, usually hours, but then sometimes also just a few minutes, I go into what I call my private room upstairs. And in that private room, I just see myself walking out on stage with a big smile and doing a fist pump or something that will warm up the audience and again, make me feel in tune with them and them in tune with me. So those are a couple of things that I do is I physically like to touch the audience, as in shaking hands, doing high fives. Now with COVID, that's rough.
The mask five. Mask five.
The fist bump, the elbow bump. But the bottom line is the more you can feel in tune and in touch with them and them with you, the more the butterflies just dissipate and you feel ready to engage.
That's good advice. Good advice. Okay, let's go with one more question, and then I think we're going to free. Just it says most people are glad to get done. Oh, this is a good one, right? So most people are happy to be done with the presentation, but the point of being there, if you're speaking for free, was to grow your business, right? And what are some tips you can give that will help people leverage their time in front of an audience and make an impact?
Good deal. All right. So there are three parts of every great presentation. I call it the P, the D, the F. The PDF, as in a portable document format, but we call this the preparation, the delivery, the follow-through. Preparation, delivery, follow-through. The preparation piece gives you a chance to not only prepare for the delivery, but also the follow-through. Because actually, and you know this from a sales perspective, it is the follow-through that hits the home run, not the delivery itself. And in great sales presenters and with great sales presentations, you're basically seed planting at that point in time, but it's in follow through, 6, 8, 10, 12 times, when then things really begin to settle in and you really make a relationship turn into something that's called business.
Yes. Yes. profitable business relationships, right? We want to make friends, but we want to make money at the same time.
That's right.
And so what is a follow through? What is a tip that you can give them to follow through?
Yeah,
if it's somebody else's audience, right? Because you may just be one of many.
Yeah.
If you're at a breakout session, which I've done a lot, I have my topic, I go there. You collect as many business cards while you're sitting at the table, or your last slide says, oh, follow me on Twitter or reach out to me on LinkedIn or something like that. Mm-hmm. What are some other creative? I'll give you one that I have afterwards, but tell me a little bit about yours.
Well, today, obviously, you've got to capture information. You've got to capture name, email address, hopefully phone number as well. And the best way that I have personally found to do that is to pass a hat, pass a bowl, some way capture their business cards, but do it in a way that you're not just capturing business cards, you're offering value. Actually, lots of value, because I say, I'm drawing from the hat 3 winners, and the total estimated value of the things that I'm giving away is over $1,000. So people then drop their business card in for that, and I then pick those names, and then I deliver on those goods. The other people then hear from me because they know that I'm going to be in touch with them. And then I put things in motion. And everybody in my audience who drops a card in the hat or the bowl, they get a series of articles or somewhat we'll call mini gifts that will enlighten them and follow through on the things that I planted in them in that session. So it really is a win-win. I get their name, address, phone number, email address, and then I start, putting things out in their hands that will benefit them in the long run. I never want to do something that they feel like I got it all, they didn't get anything. If they're getting value, they're happy to give me that card.
So then, if in simple terms, for someone that might just be starting their business, or maybe they don't have an email marketing campaign or anything, it might be a simple nurturing sequence, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're just going to say, I would say when I'm speaking next week, I think, I don't know when it is, but do you see on my screen how I say text Maven to 64600? I don't know if you can see that, but if somebody text messages I'm the social selling Maven, then I capture their information, but in return they get something, right? I'll say, I just talked about, if you want my slide deck, if they have permission, text the word Maven to 64600. I'll deliver that slide deck to them. But then there's more, right? So if you have the nurturing sequence of, not just because you text me and now I'm going to throw up all over your inbox and tell you how great I am. That's not the goal. It's just like in any other sales training course that maybe you guys have heard from me, is that, trickle that value over time. If you did your homework, like George said, right, and you're getting to know your audience, you should probably know the pains that they have.
Yes.
Right? And maybe in advance, you could do a little bit of homework. You could curate some content. You could find somebody else's PDF that's not a competitor or something. Those are just ideas of value you could deliver specific to the audience or specific to your brand, your service offering that would actually have a positive outcome for the audience, not a sell.
Not a sell. It's add value to the point where the law of reciprocity kicks in, and they go, I need to buy something from this lady. She is smart. She's got all of this. What can I buy? And it works.
Yes. And I do have people that reach out to me and say, I don't know what it is you do, but I want to buy from you. Like literally, I've had those people say that. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to sell a little more frequently so that people actually know what I do. But that's some good feedback. Well, George, listen, it's been wonderful to have you on the live stream show today. If you're listening to this afterwards as a podcast, George had some information I gave in the show description. You'll have a link to his website. And I know, George, you're doing some really valuable give backs now to the community for people that might want to come and learn from you. Tell the audience a little bit about that, how they could be a part of the is it Tuesday, Thursdays, or I know it's on some days I haven't been able to show up, but
Yeah.
let's tell them about some dates.
Yes. 4 sessions a week. 4 sessions a week. 2 different times. 12:15, 6 p.m. That's Central Time. 12:15 and 6 p.m. Central Time. We got 2 sessions on Tuesday, 12:15 and 6. We've got 1 session on Wednesday at 6. 1 final session on Thursday at 12:15. So 4 sessions. FRE. 4 sessions for free, 45 minutes, and for anybody. This is what we'll call basic foundational stuff. But it's always focused on building confidence through practice. I share principles just like I've done here today, but then we practice. And it's in the practice that you build the confidence, that you build the skills, and you get positive feedback, and the whole process of learning begins to churn and burn, and you get better and better and better and better. I promise.
And I'm assuming it's a safe environment where someone can mess up, feel the fear and do it anyway, whatever you want to talk about it. Well, I'm going to recap us real quick. So we talked about speaking for free. You guys get in front as many eyeballs, as many warm bodies as you can, to not so much promote you. Your brand is going to have an imprint. Your logo is going to get in front of them, but you're delivering value to your audience, and they see what it's like to interact with you. They don't just read. They see your body language. They see how you talk. They see if you have passion, right? Like nobody wants to work with a coach that is total monotone and doesn't have passion for what they do. Number 2, let's talk about the acronym of SAY, which was subject, know your subject, audience, know your audience and who you're speaking to, and why. What inspired you to get up in the morning, to get that suit on, to stand in front of those people, to sweat buckets? Why are you doing it anyway, right? What's the why? What's the inspiration that you have? Did I hit all those points?
Yes, absolutely. You're on the money.
Okay, well, then there's others. So George is at thespeakersacademy.com.
Yes.
And how can they get the link, George, to these 12:15, 6:15 support? Let's call it the speaker support group. How can they get into that group? Where's the link?
Well, all of that is hosted on meetup.com. The Speakers Academy on meetup.com. If they go to the meetup.com and they put in the Speakers Academy, it will be THE-speakers.
Okay.
.com will lead you into those 4 sessions that repetitiously roll every single week. 2 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, 4 sessions for free, 45 minutes, bada bing, bada boom. Fun stuff.
Let's become better speakers, everybody, so that we can speak with confidence and deliver that powerful message that we're honing and that we want to share with our target market. So thanks again, George, for being here. I wish you all the best luck. I promise I will attend one of your meetings because I need to be a better storyteller. I know I do. I need to be a better storyteller. It's a goal of mine. But thanks, everybody. Next week I have of course, a show, and I will have my good friend Jen Ferguson on. She's going to be talking about sales and how to have executive presence and executive leadership. She was just voted one of the top sales women on LinkedIn. She inspires people. She knows her stuff. She's a powerhouse. She's a fellow NAWSP member, and I'm going to share her with you. So, George, I hope you continue to watch the show and be a fan. And we will be in touch, everybody. So, George, stay online. I'll finish there, and then we'll have a recap. Thanks, you guys. Take care. Stay tuned. Subscribe, the Social Selling Maven YouTube, Twitter, or the Facebook page. See you all soon. Have a great, fabulous weekend.